Welcome to my talk, How Sharing Can Make You a Better Developer for Scottish Summit 2023. I'm Peter Bull from Gateshead in the northeast of England, which is just over the river from Newcastle upon Tyne, an hour or so south of Scotland, and a couple of hours or so north of Manchester, where Scottish Summit 2023 is being held. I've been coding personally for over 30 years, with my latest tutorials, workshops, and more being shared on tutorialer.com. Been coding professionally for over 20 years, including working on an online bookstore, digital signage content generation, and most recently, platforms for the gaming industry. I'm also a big fan of the Microsoft Zune before it featured in the last couple of Guardians of the Galaxy films, even going as far to write a digital coffee table book about Zune, zunepedia.com. You'll find me on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/in/rogueplanetoid, my website at rogueplanetoid.com, where I have posts, articles, and a podcast, on Twitter at twitter.com/rogueplanetoid, on GitHub at github.com/rogueplanetoid, or you can listen to my podcast at youtube.com/rogueplanetoid. Sharing made me a better developer to help me learn, including from others who shared their knowledge. Sharing can lead to many other opportunities that would not otherwise have happened, including presenting talks such as this one. It's also helped progress my career where I've learned even more skills that then led to even more opportunities to learn and share. Sharing has shaped me as a developer throughout my journey. It has been and remains a key focus for me personally and professionally, wherever and whenever possible. It's helped me share with others and encourage them to do the same and become a constant feedback loop to keep the flow of knowledge going, as sharing is learning. I'll go through my personal journey as a developer from basic beginning to tutorialer.com, with sharing at the core, from how it started to how it's going. How it started for me as a developer was in the early 90s, coding with BASIC, which was licensed from Microsoft on the Commodore 64C, which had a 1 megahertz processor, which is over 3,000 times slower than my current laptop. It also had only 64 kilobytes of RAM, which is over 250,000 times less than my current laptop. I had some reference and examples for BASIC, and from these I was able to create my own simple examples and could save them onto an audio cassette tape to load and run them again later. It was challenging to find resources to help, and there weren't any opportunities for me to share or learn from others, as I didn't have internet access and the World Wide Web had just been invented. I made more progress learning to code when I got a Toshiba T1200 laptop. It was a relatively major step up from the Commodore 64, with over 4 times the processing speed of 4.77 megahertz and 10 times the memory, with 640 kilobytes available, and ran DOS 3.30. And most important of all, it came with GW Basic from Microsoft and the manual, which contained a full language reference along with examples. From this, I was able to go far beyond what I'd done before and create my own small applications and even games with basic graphics and sound, which could be backed up onto a 720 kilobyte single density 7 centimeter floppy disk. But I was still just learning on my own, and I still didn't have any way to share what I was learning or learn from others. The late 90s changed everything for me when I got a Brother PC, which was 30 times faster than my Toshiba 1200, with over 12 times the RAM, with 8 megabytes. As a student, I bought the then brand new product from Microsoft, Visual Studio, so there's no free option then. So I could take my knowledge from Basic and could start to learn Visual Basic. I also had access to the internet and the World Wide Web, where there were websites by fellow developers eager to share what they knew. Once I started looking into learning Visual Basic, I realized getting started was, of course, the first thing I would need to do. But I also realized I could also help others who were just starting out. So I decided to write my very first Visual Basic code of Hello World as a tutorial, not only to help learn it myself, but to help others learn it too, and published it on my own website 25 years ago. I then followed this with more tutorials, each one helping me learn something new that I could then share with others. The turn of the new millennium would also be the dawn of a new era of programming, with the release of .NET from Microsoft and introduced Visual Basic .NET, which used Windows Forms or WinForms. I realized not only would I need to learn this newer language, but others would too. So I ported many of my tutorials along with adding more, including a lucky dice game. By the end of the middle of the first decade of the new millennium, there'd be new versions of .NET with new features, and I would update my tutorials accordingly. This was helped by the release of Visual Basic Express Edition, which helped encourage more people to become a developer, as it was made available for free. In 2006, a new UI technology arrived in .NET, Windows Presentation Foundation, or WPF, which meant not only did I need to keep my skills up to date, I knew others would need to do the same. So began another round of porting my tutorials, including that lucky dice game, as it also introduced the language of XAML, or Extensible Application Markup Language. This separated how the user interface was built from the functionality and used an XML style syntax. Microsoft would introduce the idea of XAML in the browser with Silverlight, which initially used JavaScript, aimed at delivering high quality streaming video in the browser, which is something that was relatively new at the time. In 2008, Microsoft would add support for a subset of .NET in the next version of Silverlight, so I decided to switch and learn it by, of course, porting many of my tutorials to Silverlight. I also created a brand new website, not only to share these new tutorials, but you could also try them out directly in the browser without having to do any coding. In 2010, Microsoft would launch Windows Phone, and they promised those who knew Silverlight could target apps for this new mobile platform. However, there would be a new challenge as Visual Basic .NET was not supported, so instead would have to learn C Sharp. Just like my very first tutorial, I wrote my very first line of C Sharp recreating Hello World for Windows Phone 7. I was able to use the skills I learned, porting my Silverlight tutorials not only to Windows Phone, but to C Sharp to create my own apps for Windows Phone, one of which added some social features from the Zune platform that were never made available on Windows Phone, called Zunecarder, which I later did a presentation about. And one of those who saw my talk offered me a job, which of course I accepted and helped me learn even more. 2012, being able to create applications for Windows Desktop along with tablets and Windows Phone would combine with the idea of universal apps based on .NET and XAML, with the release of Windows 8.1 and Windows Phone 8.1, along with the newly introduced Windows RT from Microsoft. I was able to keep my skills and my tutorials up to date, as it was similar to Windows Presentation Foundation and Silverlight, to create examples that ran on desktop, tablet, and mobile. 2015 would see the introduction of Universal Windows Platform from Microsoft, which also used XAML, where you could write apps not only for Windows 10, including desktop and tablet, along with Windows 10 Mobile, but also Microsoft's Xbox and HoloLens. I challenged myself to put all my previous tutorials for Windows 8.1 and Windows Phone 8.1, which I did and shared them online. This also led to a presentation and even an article from Microsoft UK about doing this, which was an amazing opportunity. For the next few years, I kept improving my skills and updated my Universal Windows Platform tutorials, as there was a refocus on Windows Desktop after the demise of Windows 10 Mobile. By 2018, I reached a total of 128 tutorials, which helped to increase my skills even further and gave me opportunities to try parts of the platform I'd never have used otherwise. I even saw that others were using my tutorials, including on YouTube and even in a university course, which was amazing to see. Many more opportunities for people to learn from what I had created. By 2019, creating tons of tutorials made me realize that this should be my focus, to share what I know. So I decided to launch a brand new website dedicated to creating learning resources at tutorialer.com. This new website would not only be home to any new tutorials, but also other learning resources such as workshops, including one for C Sharp, that help colleagues at work learn the language and helping them on their journey. How it's going? Well, in the last few years, I've added even more content to tutorialer.com and intended to refresh and update all the Universal Windows Platform tutorials I had done. However, just as I started, support for UWP ended, but was replaced by Windows App SDK. So I've been creating tutorials for that instead, applying what I have learned over the years. I've also written more workshops, such as for Blazor, which I learned from others and wanted to share how to get started. They've even ported some of the games from my tutorials to Blazor. I've also shared articles that I've written about on my website at rogueplanetoid.com, along with presentations I've done, such as this one for Scottish Summit. That's how my journey as a developer has been going, and you can see how much of it has been shaped and molded by sharing. Sharing makes you a better developer, whether that's .NET, low code, Microsoft Dynamics 365, or anything else. You can learn new skills to help share what you know, such as presenting talks, writing articles, and more. You don't have to write dozens of tutorials. You could start with one thing. It could be some documentation about a feature you're interested in. You don't even have to be a developer. You could be anyone from any industry, from podcaster to musician, or anyone else. It's bound to be something you can share with others. You can also encourage others to get where they could be with your help. The key thing is to remember is that nothing is lost when you share knowledge with others, only gained. And this can also help yourself too. And everyone can achieve more by sharing. Remember that a rising tide lifts all boats. A Loch Dev Piper is your aim. Here are some of their traits. We like to explore new features, to learn about, to expand your knowledge. Things you do in your personal time may reap rewards in your personal life. You share the things you've learned or figured out with others. This could be within your team. You could write an article or share it in another way. It's up to you. Admitting you don't know can sometimes be the hard thing to do, but it can help you to be an effective mentor and point someone in the right direction, or you might even have to admit you are wrong about something. Often the best way to show how to do something is to demonstrate you do it yourself. This could be how you approach something or how you solve a particular problem. Things change and evolve. Your knowledge or skills need to do so as well. This not only allows you to keep up to date, but you can also help others to do so. It could be a new way of doing things, and you can quickly change your approach accordingly. You might even know someone who would share what they know if only they had some encouragement or help to get them started. You may even help someone with something who is able to help someone else or even help you in return. Do you know anyone who could be the Loch Dev Piper, or could you be one? The Loch Dev Monster is to be avoided. Here are some of their traits. People who mock the lack of skills in others. Not everyone knows everything. Every single developer, without exception, had to learn everything they know for the first time. So don't expect this to be different for anyone else. Some may not want to teach or share their knowledge with others. This could be people in different teams who are not allowed to work together, or people left out of learning experiences, or where there's even gatekeeping of information. They may actively suppress knowledge. This could be refusal to document something, asking someone not to pass on some information, or just being left out of the loop. They may lord their ability above someone. The I know something you don't know mindset. There's value in letting others find their own way and subtly nod them in the right direction. But if you don't give people the tools or skills they need to get where they are, then that doesn't help them learn or make progress. Changing requirements is an inconvenient truth that happens occasionally during work. But when requirements are met that are then changed after the fact, moving the goalposts, and this makes it difficult to seem consistent or applying outcomes arbitrarily rather than fairly. Telling others to do something in a certain way and then not applying those same rules to the work you do can make you feel like you don't have faith in the ways that you're trying to explain. Or you don't apply those rules to your own work. It may seem like you don't understand what you're telling others to do. Do you know anyone who might be the Loch Dev Monster? Be better. Your journey as a developer or as a person is never over. The way you start or continue your journey will define who you are and how others see you, and might even help others define who they are. Being the best developer isn't just knowing everything, but about sharing what you know with others and to always be learning. If you think you know everything, then you're standing still. Steer clear of any negative traits. But should you encounter any, and you can offset them with positive traits, or you can even inspire someone else to make a difference. Remember to be the Loch Dev Piper and avoid the Loch Dev Monster. Thanks for listening to my talk, how sharing can make you a better developer for Scottish Summit. I'd just like to thank the online sponsor K&K who help their customers benefit from upcoming trends and developments today, going far beyond the sphere of publishing software. Find out more at knk.com.